Welcome to Ask Rabbit. I don't work here, lady. Today we have a solid mix of rage-inducing stories with some feel-good stories. Let's jump right into it. This first post is titled, Karen slapped and pushed me because I was ignoring her and not helping. I'm an 18-year-old male, born completely deaf and mute. Also, I am partially blind in my left eye. I live with my sister, a 28-year-old female, who had been taking care of me since our parents died. Recently, she got married and went on her honeymoon, so I am on my own for a few weeks. This happened yesterday. Usually, whenever I go out, I'm accompanied by my sister due to my disability. But now, since she is on her honeymoon, I had to go out alone. There was a new supermarket opened in our area and I needed some items, so I decided to go there and grab them. My bad for wearing a red colored shirt almost similar to the employees working there. But if you look closely, you could see that it was not the uniform. I was at the electronics section looking for some batteries when I see an old man struggling to get some DVDs at the top shelf. Since I'm tall, I helped him. He thanked me, I can do lip reading, and went on his way. Then I began looking for the batteries. That's when I felt someone grab my left wrist. I turned around and a woman, in her late 40s, slapped me. She was speaking something, but I couldn't follow her lips as she spoke too fast. However, I was able to catch some words like you, ignore, job, etc. So I signed to her that I'm deaf. Apparently, this was a wrong move because she became more irate towards the signs. Again, she was yelling something, but I couldn't catch anything. So I took my notebook and started writing that I am deaf and mute. Before I could finish, she grabbed my notebook and pen and threw them away. Then she slapped me again and pushed me to the ground. Luckily, by this time, a store employee came to see what the commotion was about. He saw me on the ground and helped me up. Then he asked me what happened. Before I could sign to him, Karen starts to yell at the employee. I don't know what she said as she was not facing me. After she finished, I signed to the employee that I cannot hear her speak. Fortunately, he understood and explained this to the lady, but she is still not convinced. She tries to assault me again, but I moved away. Then I wrote and showed the employee to call the cops on her. The employee nodded and called the cops. Karen tried to run away, but the security caught her. The police arrived in about 10 minutes. They first talked to the employee, who explained the situation about how Karen assaulted me because she mistook me for a store employee. One police officer comes to speak to me. I understand that he wants to get my version of the events, so I wrote everything down and showed it to the officer. Then they went back to check the CCTV footage. Then came back and asked me if I wanted to press charges. I gladly said yes. Karen was then placed in handcuffs and given a free ride at the back of a police cruiser. The manager then explained to me that Karen thought I worked there and she became angry that I ignored her. She'd been standing on my left side, so obviously I couldn't see her. The store manager then offered me a 50% discount on the products. I texted my sister about the events that happened and she was livid. Oh, did I mention that my sister is a lawyer? She told me that she herself will be handling the case and would see to it that Karen would get maximum time. Court date is in around 40 days. I will update about it after court. Alright, this next post is titled, None of Us Worked There. Okay, this is maybe not the right place to post this, but it is jolly. And I can assure you that none of these ladies or me worked in these stores. I am teaching myself to cook because it calms me, but I'm not familiar with many of the ingredients, so I stand looking puzzled at things on the shelves. When the pupil is ready, the master appears. Me, a tall, paunchy white guy. I'm kneeling on the floor at our local Kroger looking at what is called country ham in these parts. Like an American prosciutto, but not as delicious. A big haunch butt of pork wrapped in burlap. $35 and up. Why they store them on the floor, I don't know. I hear a woman's voice behind me. What do you want with that country ham for? I turned around and a little African American lady was talking to me. Big voice for a little lady. I was going to reply, for Thanksgiving, but not missing a beat, she said, you got to boil that in Coca-Cola all night to get the salt out. This was so nice. I smiled and said, I didn't know that, and thanked her. She said, you don't want that country ham, and she went on her way. I've never cooked a country ham and never will. Another store, another year. I'm learning to cook Thai now. I'm at the aisle with the coconut milk cans. Like 75 different sizes and brands from different countries. What the heck? Isn't it all the same? A tiny Asian woman leans past me and taps one specific brand. Starts with the CH, doesn't say a word, and leaves. I pick one up, buy it, take it home, cook with it, and it's great. Better than what you get in restaurants, moderately priced. As in an added bonus, it comes in small size too, perfect for two-person cooking. We keep buying it, it's good. A third store, another year, an Oriental Mega Mart, tofu aisle. I knew nothing about tofu. Every time I tried to cook it, it turned into a sloppy, unappetizing mess. So I'm looking at some firm, what does that even mean? Tofu. Turning it over and shaking it, listening to it slosh around. Another Asian lady walks up to me and says, "You need to pour boiling water over the tofu. It keeps it firm." Looking at my face to see if I understood, I said, "I've never heard that before. Thank you." And now I cut perfect cubes of tofu every time. These are the anti-Karens. I love that they're out there. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed those first two stories. Before you get into the next stories, if you guys could please do me a huge favor and hit that like button down below. And make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss any future videos. Alright, this next post is titled, Boss, what are you doing in my car? Unlike many folks here, I don't really work retail or even shop that much. I do get mistaken at Best Buy sometimes, even though I've never worn blue polos to that store. Apparently, standing near the aisle browsing stuff with a serious expression is enough to have random people come up to you and ask questions. And I usually reply, "I don't work here, but what was your question anyway?" And they generally apologize, chuckle, and I answer what I can. But that's not the story today. About 15 years ago, I was working in a logistics company. I had missed the lunch truck that comes by, so I decided to drive to lunch, then come back. A coworker said he'll come with me. I said I'll see him out front. So I went to my car, which was a small sedan, champagne color. I got it started and the AC blasting. It's a hot area here, and I drove to the employee entrance and waited. The door opened, closed, and someone sat down on the seat. I put the car into gear, was about to ask where we should go, when I realized that wasn't the coworker. That was the company president, aka Big Boss. He had already buckled himself in when our eyes met. Neither of us said anything for a second. My hand automatically shifted back to park. Boss, what are you doing in my car?" He mumbles, "Oops, sorry," unbuckled himself and got out. Just then, my coworker arrived, looking at my boss getting into another car, a white Lexus. My coworker asked, "What was that?" I shrugged. "No idea. I guess he was looking for his lunch ride." So I do work here, but I am not your lunch ride. Alright, this next post is titled, "It's not a taxi, but I'll take the cake." This happened in the early 2000s, 2002 or 2003. A small background is needed. At that point in my life, I'm a third-year nursing student in the capital. I'm sharing my apartment with a good friend, and he is sharing his car. The alleged car was a major factor of the story. It was a brand cherished by taxi drivers and also yellow, the color of taxis in the capital. The major differences from a taxi were the lack of the taxi sign and that it was a hatchback. Taxis are sedans. It was common for someone to flag us down, thinking it was a taxi, until we came closer. Anyway, it was the summer and my friend was island hopping with his fiancée and had left the car behind. I had woken up to an almost empty fridge, and since I was paid the day before, I decided to forego the small convenience store in my neighborhood and drive to the big supermarket. I jumped in the car and took a major road artery to the store. I'm stopped in front of a bus stop, waiting for the light to turn green, when the back door opens and closes, and I hear a woman's voice saying the name of the hospital. I turn around to say it's not a taxi, but I stopped in my tracks. A sweet old lady had entered the car. She was around 65 to 70. She is clutching her purse so hard, her knuckles are turning white. She is clearly panicked. She keeps mumbling, "Please hurry. She went into labor. Please hurry." I put the car into gear and start driving towards the hospital. Nurse training kicks in and I start to talk to her to calm her down. She starts to calm down and I get the whole story. Her granddaughter, 19 at the time, was pregnant and had a rough pregnancy. An hour ago went into premature labor and the grandma was panicking. We reached the hospital 20 minutes later. The guard at the entrance knows me because of hospital rotation. I drove up to the entrance and drop her off. As she's trying to pay me, I tell her it's on the house. At that point, she realized it wasn't a taxi and got a bit embarrassed and tried to give me money again. I advised that if everything went well, send me a cake. Little did I know. 2 weeks later, my roommate is back and receives a call from the police. They wanted to find out if he was the owner of the car and if he could go to the station. My roommate asked me if anything had happened with the car while he was gone. I said no, having almost forgotten the incident. I decided to tag along and go to the station. We are met by an officer who guides us to an office. Inside is this sweet old lady with a box. She jumps up shouting, "That's him!" and hugs me. The officer is smiling. He is the father of the daughter and now a proud grandfather. Apparently, the lady told him about the incident and how helpful I was. He used his status as a police officer to get the plate from the CCTV and find the owner and thank me. The baby girl would have to spend some time in the hospital due to being almost 2 months early, but otherwise, alright. So I got the cake. On a final note, I met the girl by coincidence a couple of years ago. She has turned out fine and studying to be a nurse. Alright, that's going to wrap up today's Ask Rabbit, I Don't Work Here Lady video. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories today. If you did, definitely drop a comment down below letting me know what you guys thought and hit that like button. It really does help the video out. Make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss any future content. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time.